Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Babe, the Bitcoin and Blockchain Evolution. I am Sarah Herring, joined by my co-host, Matt Davio, and we are very lucky today to be blessed with the presence of Rodger Wells. Rodger, you're in charge of Dashbid Media, Inc., which I've just been looking over this morning. This is legit. You guys are doing a lot in not only the crypto space, but also in the digital media space, the video space, which of course is what I'm all about, that life. So welcome to the show, Rodger.
Yeah, thanks, Sarah. Nice to be here, Matt.
Yeah, thanks, Rodger.
So just to bring the audience up to speed, let's first talk a little bit about what I was going to say Dashbid, but let's start with Rodger. Let's talk about how did you kind of find yourself in the position in this space and kind of working in the world of, I see that you love that blockchain life just like we do. So tell us how you found yourself in this space.
Yeah, sure. I came into digital media a long time ago. I was one of the early people at a company called Jump TV, which was kind of Hulu about 10 years too early.
Oh my gosh, I remember Jump TV.
Yeah, it was a fun place. It was a great gig. Took the company public, did a lot of fun stuff. From there, I went to a company called Uvu, which was really a multi-point video chat, kind of a competitive.
Big user of Uvu. Love that product. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, Clay Mattil, who's the owner, personally recruited me into the company, so that was pretty cool. Spent a couple of years there really moving it from a subscription-based test product to really a multi-point advertising powerhouse, and very unique entry into ad delivery, and really kind of all a foray into where I am now. Dashbid, I was recruited to by a former colleague at Jump TV, from Jump TV, who was running the company at the time in 2014, early 2014, late 2013. Came in as the chief revenue officer and really helped the company go from kind of starting as a product to winning some awards and creating a whole bunch of money over the following couple of years. All of that was simultaneous to my personal interest in, sometimes fortunately, early interest in some crypto nonsense, but also in trying to understand blockchain as much as somebody like me could. I'm not a technical person, although probably more than a lot of people, but I'm definitely not an engineer, which is incredibly obvious. Come late 2015, I had put out a document kind of positioning some changes inside of Dashbid. We were a SSP video ad exchange that was just doing a lot of stuff, but I really saw where the industry was going in terms of the need for transparency and cleaning everything up and having an opportunity to really present value add to all parties involved. So we put out a document I had written called the Morpheus Project, was about internal change. Started working on it, didn't really get the traction. Long story short, come the end of 2016, the board of directors asked me to take over as CEO of the company, and really kind of push that idea to life. We rolled that out as a product called Preview in early 2017. Late 2017, that product started the evolution into Preview Blockchain, and that kind of all got us where we are right now.
I love the Morpheus Project. Like, whatever it is, I don't even have to know what it is. Like, I'm on board. Let's red pill everyone. Right
exactly.
Well, talk to us then a little bit about Dashbid. Give us a little bit of sort of the overview, and then we'll get more into the details.
Yeah, it's a cool company. We got a bunch of good people here working on all kinds of different stuff. The engineers are building the stuff that engineers build. We got a good sales team and account management team here at our headquarters. We're based in New Jersey. We have an ad sales office here in New York. Our engineers are scattered across the US and Canada. And it's exciting. It's exciting to be a part of it. We're continuing to grow, but obviously it is a interesting time in advertising and a exciting time in blockchain. So I think there's still a lot of shakeout to come, and a lot of figuring things out to come. But I think we're really well positioned to address both of those.
So let's talk about how digital advertising, especially on the video side, that Dashbid is playing in. How will the blockchain evolutionize what you guys are doing and what the industry, where it's been and where it's going to go?
Well, I'm not going to say I have the answer. We're kind of changing where we're focusing in terms of that space. Now, we're still very much in advertising and very much in delivering value to all the constituents of an advertising exchange. But as far as Dashbid's previous business, which was really just exchange-based, third-party, ad sales, ad trading, everything else, advertising, that industry has disappeared. That industry has evaporated. Facebook and Google took most of it. Amazon is becoming a large player. All the smaller players have just gone off the radar. And the reason for that was just a proliferation of fraud and a very difficult time in sorting out the wheat from the chaff, to the point of where advertisers just said, we're not going to do this anymore. In 2017, in January, Mark Pritchard gave a speech down in Fort Lauderdale at the IAB Leadership Conference that really kind of set everything in motion in a major way. It had already been rolling, but it really just lit the fire. That changed everything. And it played well for us because it played into what Preview was originally designed to do. And it's playing even more into what I think Preview blockchain is going to deliver to the space. And a lot of that is just about transparency, accountability, fairness, for lack of a better word. Excuse me.
Especially in this age, I think obviously when the CEO of a big company comes out and says, yeah, I just eliminated all of my online marketing and nothing changed. And then moving kind of forward, with I think what's been going on, sort of how the general public is starting to turn on, say, Facebook, and a lot of these ideas of, I guess, being over advertised and being sort of constantly watched, this big brother life that we're all living in. Talk to me a little bit about, being in the advertising space, how sort of what the marriage, I guess, needs to be between getting ads, pushing things that people actually need to see, and also those still needing some privacy as well as transparency in, I guess, not having a monopoly. Also, there's a lot of that action going on.
Yes, a monopoly by new definition. A lot of these companies are lucky the laws aren't as fast as the companies. That's for sure. What you're saying really leads into where we've come to with Preview blockchain and with what we're trying to do. I've always felt, and I'm not alone in feeling this, and this is not an earth-shattering idea, but digital advertising in general is broken. And it has been broken, and there are too many players and too many participants. And the most important participant is really kind of left out in the cold. We started looking at what we call the advertising value circle, and it's really a combination of the three participants that are most key to an advertising transaction. And for purposes of definition, an advertising transaction is an ad being played to a viewer. That's an advertising transaction. Throughout history, and let's put fraud aside. I think fraud is being well handled. There's a long ways to go. There will always be fraud. There will always be new ways to fix it. Blockchain will solve some of it. It will not solve other aspects of it. But putting that aside and just moving to a higher level of discussion just about how the industry works, advertisers get what they want. They pay to have their advert played in front of a person to try to drive an action. So they're getting what they expect out of this value exchange. Maybe they're not getting it as frequently or at as high of a rate as they'd like to, but they're getting it. That's why they keep spending money. Publishers, on the other hand, are getting paid to put audience in front of advertisers for them to deliver this ad. They're getting money for doing that. And the way that they get this audience is through the creation of content. Sometimes it's great, sometimes it's not. That's okay. I read junk all the time too. And I see ads. The person who's been left out of this exchange is the viewer. And I would argue they are the most important part of this entire conversation. Now we can say, okay, I'm the viewer, I get great content as a result of, consuming ads. Okay, maybe. Or even actually often. But the pain that I go through to get to that content can just make the content not even worthwhile. And publishers see viewer attrition. They see people leave. Think of it yourself. You get to an article somewhere that you really like the headline and really want to read, and you see that you got to sit through a 1 and 30-second ad. Are you going to wait for the article? No, you're gone. It's over. And then the other promise made to viewers, which was, I think, made mostly by advertisers and data companies, is we're going to give you the ads that are most valuable to you. We're going to understand your person. We're going to have all this data and know who you are so we can give you the right ads. I bought one of the weighted blankets on Facebook about 2 months ago. I couldn't resist. I wanted to see what it was. It was like, this sounds, it's like a permanent hug. How bad can it be? So I bought the blanket. I like the blanket. It's heavier than I thought it would be. But it's fun. I'm still getting...
Roger, can I sell you a cuddle pillow also?
Be careful, I'm a sucker. I'm still getting ads on Facebook for that weighted blanket. It's like, dude, enough already. I don't need that interruption to my experience.
How does that stop? Because that's my big complaint all the time. Like, with 4 kids, I'm always, oh, Dad, buy me this new lacrosse head, right? And I'm like, okay, what's it called? Under Armour XYZ 4FT. And all I do is get ads on and on and on. It never stops. And I bought it already.
Exactly. Retargeting is not a bad thing, because it's presumably something I'm interested in, but there's a point where it becomes a nuisance. And there's a point where it becomes ridiculous, and that's really what I'm seeing in the blanket, what you're seeing in the lacrosse gear. And more importantly, as a viewer, my experience is being destroyed. So what we said is, how can we include the viewer in this transaction? There are 2 Rodgers in this world. I know only one is on this interview. I'm sorry. The other one is being used and traded right now. There's real world Rodger. That's me. I have a house and I have cars and I have kids and I have a job and I get paid and I buy crap and I do things and I go places. I'm pretty much in control and own what's going on there. There's also virtual Rodger. Virtual Rodger is a data set that is unbelievably influential on real Rodger's life. It determines what I see online. It determines search results, it determines experiences, it determines ads, it ultimately determines what I buy, where I go on vacation, all because it's being focused on by this industry. The problem is I don't benefit. They're all trading virtual Rodger all day. Ad companies, data companies, publishers, everybody. They're trading virtual Rodger. They're making the money off of virtual Rodger. And I'm not just getting the ads I'm interested in. I'm getting drowned with anything they can put on my page. The issue is I want to own virtual Rodger. If Meredith or any other publisher can sell virtual Rodger to an advertiser, why the hell can't I? Why can't I sell virtual Rodger too?
You're doing exactly. This is something that a lot of the people that we've been talking to recently, Thomas Power for one, John Fry, this idea that as a consumer, sort of, we should be paid for viewership. We should be paid for that. Like, we are essentially a commodity that everyone else is selling. And why don't we get paid for ourselves?
The average US viewer of digital media, which is, I presume, everyone. I know my 6-year-old has yet to put his iPad down, despite my best, and my 13-year-old, forget about it. But anyways, hopefully they never see this interview because Dad, you embarrassed me. Their names are Dora and Jackson. Now I really embarrassed them. But hopefully, that individual viewer on average in the US is worth about $240 of data trade per year. That's about how much the data on a single person trades for on average per year. And it's a really, really broad range though, because there's the low end of that range, which approaches 0, and there's the high end of that range that's really into the thousands. And a whole lot of that is waste. Our feeling is if we can empower the viewer with ownership of their personal data, it addresses 2 major problems. It addresses the privacy problem. Everything we're reading about with Facebook and Google, and guess what? All the others are going to have the same thing. They're all backpedaling to cover it up right now. Some probably did better than others, but it's just the nature of the beast. If I own my data and that data is my property, I have legal rights over my property. If the use of that property is documented on blockchain, it's easily visible, I have the ability to enforce ownership of my data. I mean, you think of GDPR in Europe, which is incredibly important and incredibly interesting, but we're talking about governments regulating somebody else's ownership of virtual me. Does that even make sense? I mean, really?
Well, it does to the EU, but that's a whole different discussion. And the EU is also going to be the first superpower to fail. So it's on its way. It's already happening.
Hey, we all love the EU. We all love the EU. They're great. But yes, it's not going to work. So the point is, I need that ownership back in my own hands. But then the second problem it solves is the value exchange. If I own that data, I can participate in different ways. The way we built Preview Blockchain is built and are building. It's not a finished product. Pieces of it are finished. Pieces of it are being used. It's not all there. I'm not trying to say that. It will be by the end of the third quarter. But what there is you have a viewer. That's whoever. I register either my mobile or my mobile app or my desktop browser or whatever. I associate my identity with a wallet. And every time I hit an ad, I get paid out some rate of tokens. You know, if that's all I've done is associate anonymous identity with a browser with a wallet, I get paid at a network rate, which frankly isn't going to be a whole lot because I'm not establishing a whole lot of value on my presence in this transaction. But then what I can do is I can have the ability to change the price I'm charging by providing different exchanges of value with the other participants in this transaction. You know, if I say, hey, I'm a 31-year-old male from Chicago and I like supercars. I do like supercars. I'm not 31 anymore. But, you know, if I say that, that's worth more. So maybe now I get a 3x payout. If I'm a social share and I'm going out and promoting media, maybe I'm a 7x payout. If I let you mine Monero and the XS processor, maybe it's a 20x payout. I don't know, whatever. You know, there are a whole bunch of different tiers where I can set a value exchange in this transaction that makes me worth more to the advertiser, makes my presence on a publisher's page worth more to the publisher, and more importantly, lets me get compensated more fairly for what I'm bringing into this equation. You know, and with that, we build a opted-in targeted data set because you know what, hey, if my car lease runs out in March, you know, come January, I'm probably going to be interested in seeing what my options are. You know, there are my realistic options and there's what I want. So let's go to the realistic options. You know, I have no issue like saying, hey, okay, you know, I have a Tahoe and its lease is running out and I got a couple of kids and a couple of dogs and a wife and you know, I need to see what's out there. Hit me with the car ads because I'm going to do something in the next 90 days. I'm all for it. I want to see it. But, you know, I don't need ads for, you know, something my daughter's going to buy because they're useless to me and they're useless for the advertiser to spend their money on. So we're trying to really build that value back to the viewer to allow them to set the price, to participate in the transaction, because ultimately, and I know I've been talking for a long time and I'll slow down, ultimately, that experience interruption has a value. You know, when you come to that piece of content, it says, you know, content will begin in 90 seconds, tick, 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 tick. You know, you're annoyed and you leave. But if you're being fairly compensated for consuming this, and even better, if it's something I'm actually somewhat interested in, I'm there. I'll hang out. I'm good. I may even buy something.
And you're going to get the article that you really wanted to read, right, Rodger? So you're going to get the content that you really want to read about. You know, the muscle cars or whatever the types of cars that you want to, you know, research for fun. You want to read those articles when you have that time and you're stuck in the airport, you know, waiting for your delayed flight. I get it.
Absolutely. We're giving a better qualified audience to the advertiser, a more valuable audience to the publisher, and compensating me for being a part of that. And by my participation, that gives a whole lot more probability that I'm actually a person who's watching this ad. I'm actually engaging with the ad. It's not buried under 15 different other pages, whatever the case may be. It's just better for everybody.
So let's talk a little bit then about the token side of what we're looking at then in this space. What are you guys doing there?
We right now are in the pre-sale of a token offer, and the token is really an integral part of our entire ecosystem. The initial token value, token usage, is really for exchange of value between all the participants in the ecosystem, as well as giving access to primarily publishers and advertisers. A viewer of an ad doesn't need to pay to view ads. That's not how the system is designed. But for specific features, whether it be a whitelisting feature, or traffic filtering, or screening, or any of the features we offer to the publishers and advertisers, they need a token or an amount of tokens to participate. When advertisers are targeting and say, okay, I want to buy this set of viewers on this set of pages or any combination thereof, you know, those payments happen in tokens, and because those tokens are going to be passed to the other constituents of the equation.
And are these going to be called preview tokens and based on the Ethereum network?
They're being built on an ERC20 standard. They're an SDA, Stingray Delta Alpha is the token symbol, which is for safe digital advertising. The blockchain itself is the preview blockchain, and that fits into our longer future plans.
Which are very mysterious. Are you just going to like drop?
Quite mysterious. Ooh, I accidentally said that. How did I go there? Oh my goodness, Sarah. Our goal, there are a lot of inefficiencies on blockchain that can't address advertising. I mean, the number one is the cost and speed of operating on blockchain. When you look at the typical advertising needs, I was reading somewhere, I don't remember where it was, but something to the effect, if you were to record 10 billion transactions on the Ethereum network, it would cost something like $4 million to do. We would record on our exchange 30 billion transactions a day on everything from ad requests down to actual impressions and everything in between. So the straightaway cost and speed at which you have to do this is not necessarily super manageable on blockchain. It's not there today. That's going to change. How far, how fast? Who knows? I think faster than expected, but probably not as quickly as wanted. That's going to change. But right now, I just don't think it's valid. The speed of exchanges, I read stories about, combinations of Hyperledger and Stellar that are giving people 1 million+ transaction per second rates. I don't buy it. I just don't. Even Stellar themselves are, 2,000-ish transactions per second. Some people have said 10. To put that in perspective, if you look at Zaxis, which is Group M's trading desk, they run about 700,000 queries per second, 24/7. So even at 10,000 QPS, you're not even close to one trading desk in the ad industry. You can't keep up. There are other ways to go around that, but you start to move away from an actual distributed system into a centralized system and kind of defeat the entire principle. So we're not doing that part on blockchain. We're looking at things that are actually attainable today with the eye on what's going to happen further down the road. Assuming our success, assuming our ability to get market penetration, to get participation from the constituents of the market, which is not going to be instantaneous. It's going to take time. I mean, these companies take a while to move, but over the next 2-3 years, I would see us moving to our own blockchain, and that blockchain really just functioning as what it's supposed to be, which is a database of validated, legitimate advertising destinations. You're advertising on ESPN, and you're actually on ESPN, and you're actually on a page that they own, as opposed to something that's a headless browser made to look like an ESPN page. And you're also able to access that blockchain to find and identify the audience you want to hit specifically. And what our vision is, you won't need Dashbid to do that. It can be, MediaMath working directly with Meredith using their own dApps to hit the blockchain and pull the data and target and do what they want to do. Dashbid would probably be a dApps provider that would do it for people as well. But the blockchain itself would be the real ecosystem and the real value, because it is this mass database of validated audience, destinations, everything that you need to actually deliver advertising effectively. And what would happen is the participants, much like Ethereum and paying gas to write on Ethereum, they would pay to write. And I do think that we're going to see a change in blockchain technology. We're betting on it, though you'll have to pay to read as well. And by doing that, the blockchain itself can become bigger than anything we'd ever be, because it's a true value asset to the entire advertising ecosystem.
Well, if your history is any indication of what's coming up next, it seems like you're always kind of on the forefront of what's coming, which is great. I can't even tell you sometimes how surprised I am at how 2007 people are still thinking in terms of advertising, in terms of media, in terms of everything. It's like, hey folks, we're in a new world. Like, let's start figuring out how to do that now, so that we're not so far behind. Now, for those of us, for those who are listening, for those who are viewing this video now, tell us a little bit about where they can find out more information, where they can get involved if they want to be involved in the pre-sale and such.
Sure, absolutely. All the information you can find on our website, dashbid.com or dashbid.io. We have everything directed right now to the blockchain pre-sale. The preview blockchain presale, because that's really where all of the inquiries we're getting are going and what they're about. We have a pretty elaborate white paper. We have a great advisory board. All of our employees are up there. A lot of our dreams and visions, and it's a constantly evolving space, but it's dashbid.com or dashbid.io. We'll get you to the same place.
I love it. I'm all about it. And just in case our viewers think you're as witty and charming as we do, where do they find you on the social medias?
I'm on all of it. I'm on LinkedIn, I'm on Facebook, I'm on Twitter, I'm on all of anything. We have Reddit, we have all that stuff. There are links to Dashbid's presence on the dashbid.io website. And if you're looking for me, it's Rodger Wells, but spell Rodger with a D, Rodger.
He's so unusual, this guy. Well, thank you so much. We know you're a very busy man. I really appreciate you taking the time. Rodger Wells, you guys definitely want to check it out. I think we're in the midst of a revolution, and it seems like you guys are well on the forefront, which is very exciting. And we will put all the links in the description below. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Sarah. Thanks, Matt. It was great. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, Roger. It was awesome.
Thanks.